Are you still waiting for somebody to come and save you or to fix you? Well, here's why that's not happening and you feel stuck. Are you stuck in the victim mindset? It's time to shift that today. You feel really good when people feel sorry for you, don't you? It's that feeling sorry for you that's keeping you stuck. I wonder what would happen if you took responsibility for your life. Let's find out.
Welcome to Life by 8, your blueprint for living the most extraordinary life. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Paul, and we're your hosts on this journey to designing your ultimate life.
Understanding your nervous system and how the words you use create your reality, this is the foundation required to reach your full potential.
In each episode, we'll dive deeper into the tools and practices that help you align with your true self and unlock lasting transformation.
So let's go. It's time to live Life by 8.
So in this episode, I may push your buttons. I may trigger you because I'm going to be talking about how to stop being the victim in your life. And so when many people start their personal development journey, they come to this pivotal moment in it. And that it's this realization that there is a different way of thinking, of seeing the world. That moment, it's the shift of life happening to life happening for me. I'll say that again. Many people on their personal development journey get to a point where they go from life's happening to me to the exciting development that life is happening for me. And so what I mean when I talk about these two different mindsets, let's start with the life's happening to me. This perspective leads to feelings of victimization, of helplessness, that everything's happening to me and this keeps happening to me and why does this person or those people or all of these, everything's happening to me. I'm the victim of all of these circumstances and experiences. It's as though you have to put up with what's happening and that it's happening to you because of, actually, to be fair, whatever story you tell yourself, whatever you make it mean, that's what happening to me is about. The other mindset of life's happening for me, at some point in your life, you will start to shift to this if you are on a growth journey. And this is when you start looking at the events happening around you differently. This mindset embraces the idea that every experience, whether positive or negative, that it's serving a purpose in your own growth. Challenges are perceived as an opportunity and can have you feeling empowered rather than hopeless. And this is the big shift. This is a really big deal, and that's why I'm going to focus so heavily on this, because in the everything's happening to me, you are the victim. You have given your power over to everything and everyone else. When you shift that mindset and start to see how things are happening for you, you actually take back your power. That is why all of a sudden, people who get to this part, who get through that transition, through that phase, start to have what they feel easier lives, that everything seems to happen with less effort, that they get things that they want rather than the things they don't want. Patterns start to shift, new things, new experiences, new types of partners and friendships and opportunities seem to come in their vicinity. Because the thing is that when you shift that mindset, you change your frequency, you change your entire energetic blueprint. Because that victim mindset is keeping you at a lower frequency. It's keeping you in scarcity. It's keeping you powerless. And the moment that you start to feel more empowered, the moment you start to choose your emotions, that you choose the stories that you are going to write, it doesn't mean that you're not ever going to experience moments of to me again. Those moments will come up. However, you're very quickly able to reframe and reshift that to how is this happening for me? And so there are some ways or steps that you can take when you're on this journey to shift your mindset. So firstly, self-awareness. With Life by 8, we talk about the A4 process. Something comes into your awareness, you acknowledge it or reject it. Once you move through the parts you acknowledge, you can then accept and then you can take action. Many people, something comes into their awareness and they want to take action straight away, mostly because it feels uncomfortable. One of the main things that's required to shift your mindset to the for me mindset is self-awareness. And so it's acknowledging that your current mindset is what it is and that it may not be serving you. And then you can reflect on whether you often feel like life is against you or that it's working for you and your growth. And you can make the decision to start practicing ways to change it. And so practicing those ways, this leads me to the how. And I mentioned earlier about reframing. Reframing is the ability to experience something, it comes into your awareness, you may have an initial thought on it, but then you're able to ask questions to shift the frame you've made it mean, what you've made this experience mean. And so when you are faced with adversity, you can ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Or how can this experience serve me? The question that I ask and get a lot of clients to ask when they start their journey is, if this was happening for me, what could I see differently? The reason this question is so powerful is because it still allows you to sit in your victim mindset, your normal, but just to play with the fact that, what if it was happening for me? What might I see differently? And it's a softer introduction into this mindset shift. So when something happens and you feel like you hear yourself, you feel like that you are going into helplessness, that you feel like you are powerless, and that you hear yourself being the victim, ask yourself the question, if this was happening for me, what could I see differently? And you'll start to see the shifts immediately. What you're doing when you ask yourself these questions, when you reframe this as an opportunity, is you actually start to see different perspectives. Instead of black and white, you start to see that there's grey, that there is more ways this could be. There is more meanings that could be associated, that could be given to what's occurring. You start to head towards more neutral thinking. You start to remove the emotional reaction that you may have had at the beginning. And so this is about your emotionality. This is about your emotional intelligence, your ability to remove the emotion to see different perspectives. And so asking yourself those questions and reframing the experience can really lead you to see a whole other world that you may never have seen before. Another way or another step to take when it comes to shifting towards this for me mindset is to practice gratitude. Regularly looking at the things that you're grateful for, it can help reinforce the belief that life offers valuable experiences, even when things feel hard. Now, a gratitude practice is not a replacement for truly seeing things and truly reframing and really acknowledging what's happening for you. Gratitude journals and gratitude exercises can be used as a way to spiritually bypass what's actually happening. Underneath, you might write, 3 things you're grateful for, but under all of that, unconsciously, you're resenting what's occurring. You're like, I'm doing all these things and nothing's changing. It just keeps happening the same way. It's that unconscious belief. It's that shadow. That's what's actually playing out. That is what's running your life. Not the things that you're tokenistically writing on a piece of paper on a book called a gratitude journal that you bought because somebody told you to. Gratitude and practicing gratitude is super important and is a great step towards this mindset, but it doesn't replace the real work that is required. What having gratitude allows you to do is to bring in a reminder, to bring in a frequency of seeing things from a certain lens. That's the practice. But that practice alone doesn't replace the facing of yourself, the mirror that's required for you to actually get that long-term change. Another step is to seek support. And this is one of the hardest things that I notice in clients when we talk about changing from to me to for me. And NLP training really, really helps people. And this is the goal of an NLP training, is for us to get people from to me to realize how their language is having them in that state. And so that when they come out of that training, they're in that for me mindset. And so when you seek support, whether that's from a coach or friends or people around you, what can also come to your awareness is that you may have to change tables. And what I mean by that is you may actually have to leave people behind, whether that's current friendship groups, whether that's people at your workplace, whether that's family and friends, changing the table so that you can start to be around and engage with communities or mentors who actually embody that mindset, the life is happening for me mindset. Because there's a lot of people who are enabling each other to stay in the victim mindset. When you start to sit at tables with people who are living the life happening for me mindset, their perspectives provide guidance and encouragement for you. You start to notice yourself shift just naturally, because instead of being in conversations around whose problems are worse, you are in constructive conversations where people are looking at and processing experiences through a different lens, through that life of, what did I take from this? What did I learn from this? How can I be different? How is it for me? They're no longer seeing things from only the victim mindset. It is a massive shift. And when you do this is one of the, out of the different levels that you can go through in personal development, this shift is the biggest transformational shift that you can take. But I also want to pre-frame with that it's the hardest. Because leaving what you've always known, and if you live in a Western culture, especially in Australia, you're in a place where being the Aussie battler, where the suffering is, normal, where the negativity and the pessimistic mindset is the norm for the majority of people. And then you have things like news headlines and media feeding that fear, feeding that victim mindset, going against the grain, against all of that, requires energy. And it requires a belief in self that you may never have had before. And so it gets to be hard if you choose it to be hard. And I want to speak to you in the fact that everything's a choice. But there is evidence, there is proof that this transformation is the biggest, but also the hardest for many people. And so when we can shift from the happening to me to the life happening for me mindset, this powerful transition, the transformation, it means that everything in your life may change. It may mean that your relationship ends. It may be that your relationship completely changes direction. Your goals, your dreams shift from what you thought was possible. Because this mindset, it empowers you to find purpose. Purpose in adversity. It helps you harness challenges and turn those challenges into growth opportunities. And so while you can't always control what happens, we actually do choose and can choose our perspective. And that's what this shift in mindset does. It allows you to stop being the victim and allows you to take back the pen to write your own journey. And I'm going to speak into experience from this on my own journey. Whether this is the first time listening or you've heard me speak about it before in regards to being sexually abused as a child, I could stay the victim of that if I wanted to. I could play the narrative out that my sexuality was impacted, my trust in men was impacted, that because of what he did, my life is how it is. I could stay the victim 32 years on. What I'm so grateful for is the fact that I never really owned the victim mindset when it came to the sexual abuse. Because part of me knew always that things happen for a reason. And on reflection, I think that is because of how my mum was in parts, even if she was pretending, even if that was, positivity that wasn't her truth, those words did impact how I saw things. So I would get on with life and I would be optimistic about things and I would just be, super independent and how does she do all the things she does is what people would say to me. But it wasn't until recent years when I really, really embraced the for me perspective. And that's when I was able to sit down and have conversations with my stepdad, who was my abuser. And for 3 hours, we sat there and we talked about what jail was like for him, what he regrets, what he missed out on. And for me to be able to hear him take responsibility and to say sorry and for me to fully embrace and accept that what that has meant from an energetic perspective in regards to my own belief system, my own responsibility taking, from not wasting energy in blaming somebody else for the life that I lead. And it has meant that I have felt more empowered. It has meant that I've taken full responsibility of healing myself and my journey when it comes to sexuality and intimacy and my ability to surrender. I get to be grateful for that. But that's an experience where truly, truly facing your shadows, truly letting go of the victim mindset. You have to let go of it. You can't just pretend to be positive. You can't ignore what occurred. It's actually reframing the story around that experience. This is the biggest trigger for a lot of people who start the journey with me, whether it's coaching, whether it's at one of our events, is because sometimes they'll come and they'll be speaking and I will hear them and I'll hold the space for them to be heard. And then I'll ask, do I have permission to coach you right now? Or do I have permission to be blunt with you? And many of them will say, yeah. And so then I will say, so what responsibility do you take? How is the victim mindset serving you? And that questioning can take people on different directions. And as we go through the process and we have the conversation, their eyes widen as they really start to shift their perspective or to see that there is an alternative, that there is a different way of seeing what happened to them and how maybe it happened for them. But it took that conversation, it took that support, it took that coaching to help them see it. Because sometimes that victim mindset, dependent on our childhood or what we grew up in, being the victim is normalized. And so if we've never had a mirror held to our face, metaphorically, to actually see other perspectives, see beyond ourselves, to really face our shadows, the things we don't want to face that seem hard, until that happens, it can be almost or feel almost impossible to truly face, to truly take a different perspective. And so that is why coaching is so powerful, because if they are a great coach, they are asking you questions and they are getting you to a perspective that you may never have seen before. And that's why it's transformational. The difference between coaching and, say, traditional talk therapy or psychology and things like that, both have a place and both are important, is that psychology can be around revisiting the story, looking at different narratives, and then there's different techniques that psychologists might use, like EMDR, CBT, things like that. What coaching does is asks questions that take you on a different journey than just talking about the story you're already telling yourself. That, I was somebody who did years and years of psychology. I have an incredible sister who is an incredible psychologist. And I have friends who are counselors and psychologists as well. I have clients who I coach who are psychologists. And so I have respect for that sector, for that profession. But what I love about coaching is the fact that we can take people where traditional therapies might not be able to, where we can use different modalities, whether that's somatic things like the body, like breath work and nervous system conversations, to different processes that we use in NLP, like the swish pattern or hierarchy of ideas, and understanding how language creates our reality. These things, these skill sets are so powerful, and it's almost like the transformations feel like they happen overnight. But the difference in coaching is that a great coach is going to help you see it, not tell you what to see. They're going to take you on the journey, because it's more powerful when you start to see it, not when you're told what to do. For those of you who know or feel stuck in a potentiality that you know exists, you're like, there has to be more to life than this, and you feel stuck and you've tried different scenarios, you've tried counseling, you've tried psychology, you've tried talking to friends and family, you've tried all these things because you think that they're cheaper, you think that, that must be it, and great. But if you feel like you've tried everything, have you actually tried coaching? Have you tried having somebody who is trained in being able to help you on your journey, who has the skill sets to be able to get you to places to change your mindset rather than just tell you what to do. And so I ask you, if you think you've tried everything, have you really? Because the reason I love what I do is because I help people see it for themselves. I don't just tell them what to do and take the, clean the mirror. You learn how to do that yourself, and that's how you get the clarity. And that's why the work is so potent, why it is so transformational. And so when you can start to see those different perspectives, you have these opportunities that you never saw before, and you start to know how to take them, and you start to learn how to design your life so that it supports your personal evolution. And when you get to moments of feeling stuck, you have more of an understanding why that feeling might be there and what usually occurs when you have the stuckness that comes. And you have the skill set, and this is what coaching gives you, is it gives you skill sets to DIY, to get yourself out of moments of stuckness. Whereas psychology and a lot of talk therapies, you feel like you need them to be able to get you through. Great coaching helps you in certain moments, in specific solutions, but a great coach is also going to give you the skills for you to be able to do that again, so you can go through this evolution, through these different level ups as much as you can yourself, and know when you truly need that support of outside of yourself. And so the to me mindset, the victim, you are feeling like you're a victim of your own circumstances. And that gets to be your truth. But at what point in your life do you start changing? Do you stop complaining and actually decide that you're worth more than that? And in and of itself, take back your power, because that's what this mindset shift does. It's about actually reclaiming your power that you are giving to other people. Because when you sit there blaming your partner, when you sit there blaming your parents or blaming the person who did the thing to you, you're ultimately giving them the power. And what many of you want is to feel powerful. But it's your responsibility to embody that power. That's what empower means, to embody power. We are all born 100% worthy. We are all born powerful human beings. But we live in societies and we allow others around us to diminish that power, to play small, to stay small. And there is a level of comfort in being the victim, because you sit at tables and on couches drinking wine and cheese with other victims, where you all talk about your problems and you almost enable each other. And that's why this is a big trigger for a lot of people, is because when I start to ask you, where are you taking responsibility, that becomes uncomfortable. And growth happens in those moments. And my job, my role as a coach, is not to be your best friend. It's to say what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. When you work with me, you have to be ready. And so when I ask those questions up front, whether you're my Uber driver, I've asked permission for the coaching, you might not like what you hear, or you're a person sitting with me at a restaurant, or you're a friend or a family member for years. I am a big believer in the more responsibility that people can take for their lives, the more power they have, the more potential they can reach. And it is part of why I am so powerful about the work we do in the early years, from birth all the way to retirement. Because if you can be independent, if you can have and stand in your power, only then do you have the possibility to have anything you want in your life. So you can blame the religion, you can blame the parents, you can blame the economy, you can blame the government, you can blame all the things. But the thing is that I won't sit with you in that victimhood. I won't cheerlead you on when you're in that victimization. But if you are ready to stop being the victim, if you're willing to hear the hard things, if you're willing to get uncomfortable, it's only then that coaching's actually going to work. And so that life that you keep dreaming about, that you keep wanting, whether that's consciously or unconsciously, it's within you. But you hear yourself sometimes. I know you do. You hear the words that come out of your mouth, and you're like, that's not me. That's not who I want to be. Just pay attention to how you speak about yourself and your life when you're around other people. And are those people enabling you to stay the victim? Or are they pulling you up with responsibility? Because ultimately it's all a choice. And so you may have had experiences and things in your life that have happened, and you've chosen to make them mean whatever you've made them mean. And Dr. Gabor Mate will talk about how trauma serves us, and there's wisdom in our trauma. And he's true, he's correct. Whatever protection mechanisms we put in place when the trauma occurred, that's the magic of the nervous system, that's the magic of our mind. But at some point, we have to extract the wisdom from it and stop being the victim to it. And it's that wisdom that we then get to utilize in that next phase of our life, where we take responsibility and we use that wisdom to serve others. Because that purpose that you know you have and that you've been wanting to serve others, to help others, one of the main things that people say they want to do in their lives, it's that wisdom in those moments where you think you were the victim. It is your responsibility to take that wisdom to help others. It's actually as simple as that. So you want to help others? Stop being the victim. Take responsibility. See the wisdom. Share the wisdom, whatever that looks like for you. And if you're ready and you need help to stop being the victim, to see things from a different perspective, then reach out. Send me a DM. Because if you're ready, I'm ready. But just know I'm unlikely to be your best friend, and I'm going to say things to you that need to be said. Maybe it's going to be things that you don't want to hear. But it's those things that you hear that changes everything. I'd love to hear what you think about this episode, any questions you've got, any triggers that it may have brought up for you. But thank you so much for being here and for living life by 8.